previously in the last episode.
Oh no, oh my God. 10 points off, right in my face, 10 points off. So we're going to start with a tour of the underside, like I said, and in no particular order. I can start at this wheel. People will look and say, well, that car never had these Fuchs alloy wheels on it. Well, I say it's a matter of personal taste and performance. I put a 356C disc brake setup on this, and the braking is dramatically increased over the old drums. And then, of course, it would fit the light alloy wheels, and I put a nice wider tire on it, as well as Bilstein shocks, Bilstein gas shocks, which are a high-performance shock, give it a little bit of a stiffer ride, but the combination of the Bilstein shocks and the wider tires, as you can see, and the light alloy wheels give it an edge on any regular 356 Roadster, that's for sure. And since this is a Super 90, the rear compensator bar, this is like a leaf spring, was not on it when I bought the car, but this is an aftermarket one that works even better than the original. And as you can see, it looks like a leaf spring, but it holds one side to the other for flatter cornering. And when Porsche put this in there, Super 90 only or an option on the other cars, they also softened the torsion bars. So they had a really good worked out engineering combination for superior handling. But the Super 90 was at least $500 more than the regular 356, so few were sold. So I'm very, very happy and lucky to have the Super 90 car. Emergency brake cables. We put some stainless steel brake lines in, and I don't know whether the stainless steel brake lines, flex lines, actually work any better than the rubber, but it's, I guess, it's maybe a fad that's been going on forever, so we put those on there anyway. Heater control boxes with the flappers and the correct paper hoses. This didn't use the cloth hoses, it's used these actual paper hoses. And the flapper boxes, so-called heat exchangers, that are in really, really good shape, as you can see right here. This car actually has hot heat in it, which is nice when you're doing a fall cruise. The car has the dual transmission mounts. The early 60 model had the central mount, which wasn't as good as the dual mounts. These are the later cars, and this is the dual mount transmission. This is also a Drout's car. It's not the Détachement Frère later Roadster, even though it is a 61. They started in 61 and late 61 and 62. If we move forward, we can start to see this pan right here, and it's not extremely well defined. Originally, they had some a little more definition. You can see this one's a little bit flat here, and you can see a little bit of welding around here, and then you can see more welding right here. This was a car that was raced in the past, and there was some reinforcement done in the longitudinal area, and I'm sure probably years ago the floor pan has been replaced. So although this car is totally rust-free, it's still, you can see the jack post over here is a little bit bent in. It still has had welding work done to it, so it wouldn't pass an underneath concourse inspection. We have other cars, and when we do cars here, they're pretty perfect, or we try to get them as perfect as we possibly can. So we move up here. A lot of people miss, when they do these floor pans, they miss the pedal cluster reinforcement, which is a really necessary piece to locate the difference between the accelerator pedal and the wooden floorboard, so the geometry is correct. They don't put this in, they guess at it. We just had a Roadster in here, I don't know, it left a couple days ago, that it looked impeccable. It sold on Bring a Trailer for $275,000, something crazy. And it came in here with a bad engine and a myriad of problems, but it looked good. And I guess to some people, looking good is the most important thing, but it wasn't good. So $150,000 later, the guy has his car back, and it's great, and it looks really perfect. But it doesn't run like this one, that's for sure. So just to give you an idea, here is the original deck lid for this car with the correct number on it, of all things. When we rebuilt this car, it was a lot easier to put another deck lid on it that I had from the donor car than to try to fix this. But that'll give you an idea of how badly this car was damaged. And really, in the scheme of things, it wasn't that bad. The rear end was swung over, but it sort of looked bad. Original numbers matching decklet. I keep it as a souvenir of the car's past and the car's color when Charlie Young changed it from light ivory to yellow. Whatever color yellow that is, I don't know. So, front trunk compartment, the first thing you want to look at is right here to see if this was broken, because Porsche had an ingenious method of holding the hood up by counterbalancing it with a ratchet. And I'm going to lift this up again so you can see. So lift the hood up, you let it down slightly, and it holds. Great idea. Unfortunately, not a great idea, because the gas people, when it was full serve, would come and they'd fill the lady or the guy's tank with gas, and USA American car hoods, they had springs on them, so you just push the hood down. So they'd get here and they'd push the hood down and it would break right there and right there, totally ruining the hood. We've seen so many of these cars, and then you have to weld it and it's all cobbled up and looks like hell. So this ingenious method of holding the hood up was discontinued in the years, and they put hood shocks in the 911 and springs on the 914. But you just simply lift it up and drop it down, which seems to me pretty easily. But we never leave these hoods. You see the sticker on here, don't close. We don't want anybody who doesn't know better to close these hoods. Also, you can see the door over there. We don't want the doors open, so we tape those when we are working on a car too. We try to handle these cars very delicately, because with one wrong move, you could cause a lot of problems. You may want to also look here. The hinge, a lot of people don't do this either. The hinge is supposed to be two-toned. The bottom portion of it black, the top portion of it the color of the car. Instantly you can spot a car that they don't know what they're doing by looking at the hood hinge combination. We just put a new tank in this, and Dansk makes this tank, and it's a damn good replica, and we've sold many of these. It sort of beats cleaning and reconditioning the original tank, although the original tank wasn't bad, but by the time you powder paint it and clean it out, you might as well just buy a new tank. And of course, the sending in it was bad as well. We talked about that earlier, and we are in the process of putting that back in. I'm trying to hold this hood up higher. You can see the washer tank. Who in the world would want to wash the Roadster windshield by putting fluid in a bag and hoping it was going to work? It's a silly thing, but I think federal standards made them have to put a washer bag and assembly in there. And it's a pump on the floorboard. So you pump up the washer fluid to wash the windshield. We have the rack and pinion cover off. I say rack and pinion, steering box. I'm so used to rack and pinion. Steering box cover off because we are working on the steering. We're going to replace the so-called rag joint. This is obviously the original. It's been in here for years, and we want everything to be up to par, because I was thinking about taking a trip, like a 1,300-mile trip in this car, and we are really scrutinizing to make sure everything is really perfect. Like, we'll replace this boot. We'll get down to the nitty-gritty. We'll replace the rubber boot for the handbrake, and we'll put a new gasket on here and completely replace this assembly. So that's why it's apart. We also had it apart so that we can compare it to the other 356 Roadster we just did that had a steering box problem. We hastily put a battery in this, as you can see, right down here. We'll take this out and we will clean it up and we'll put it back in correctly, and then we will finally install the factory look battery cover. This is far superior to the original cardboard one, as it's made out of plastic, but yet if you look at this, you'd think, well, that's the factory battery cover, which it is, an identical replica. And then the strap for the spare tire. And then we can look down in here where the jack goes. It's clipped into there. And the extra wiring for what I'll show you is inside right here, because we had to get direct to battery wiring for what we have inside the car. And then the original catch. So when you put the hood down, you want to make sure you don't drop it. It's just hitting it exactly like it's supposed to. And then you clip it. That's how the hood closes. You don't want to slam it. You don't want to drop it like an MG with an aluminum hood. You clip this. Everything is light and gentle on this car. So I'm going to show you the interior, but first I want to show you what we always keep on our inside stored cars, and that is a flannel car cover. I call it dressing your car in pajamas. You can see how nice and fluffy and tight this is, and these are perfect fit. So like I said, they fit very, very tightly around the car. Let it breathe and protect the car and the paint. You could even rub this on the paint a little bit if it's clean, because it's such a nice, perfect fitting car cover. It even has a little mirror pocket there. We get these from Covercraft, which they do really good work. So I'm going to take this and put it aside, and then carefully untape the door and open it. We use this yellow tape, which doesn't get any sticky residue. You don't want to use masking tape, that's for sure. Plus, this is really bright, so it's like a warning sign. Don't open the door. And all we need to do, especially on this lift, is open the door, let it fly open. And even though we've got buffers here, and a lot of them right here, the door could fly open and hit and cause damage to it. There's more, just a little bit right there. Then we can see the interior. We have the interior apart right now because we're doing the fuel strainer, so we had to take all of that down and take the wooden floorboards out of there so that we could access it. The interior, as you can see, has the original seat configuration in it and the original carpeting from the factory. And this car, obviously it's replaced. They call it square weave carpeting. Sure. So in the original configuration, and this also has the reclining seat option. A lot of these Roadsters didn't. So this seat will recline by picking that up, which is sort of nice for the passenger. The driver's seat always reclined. And then we have a leaf here from our recent transport of the car to go here. And then the dash. This is the original configuration of the dash, starting with a Porsche crest here. When we first bought this car, years and years and years ago, it had a radio right here. The dealer actually took the car, the badge off, moved the badge over, and chopped the hole in the dash to put a radio in. We couldn't imagine that these days, but that's the way they used to do it. Porsche did, though, at the same time, have a box to put a radio in. And you can see this modern radio that we put in here up underneath the dash, because again, how many times have I said it? This is a driver. And this radio we put in here probably, I don't know, 20 years ago, maybe, but it still works great. And it's Blaupunkt, of course. It's a red radio. I bring these cars to shows, even this, just a coffee and cars. And they know it can't be my car because Mr. Concourse Stickler would never put a red radio in his car. So I do that on purpose, just to give him a little humor. And then the rubber floor mats are protected by these Lloyd carpets, which also dampen the sound a little bit and provide a little more softness for your feet on long distance drives. The rear window, I've left this purposely because, again, this is a driver, so it's not crystal clear, but the Hartzclaw top is in good shape. Stay Fast G, and the rear window will clean up well enough to be able to see out of it without investing in a $650 plus top. Plus, if you're driving around, you always have the top down on a Roadster anyway, so what difference does it make? The Roadster also did not have rear seats in it, nor did it have any insulation. It was a very Spartan car, and this was the cheapest Porsche that you could buy in 1961. The Cabriolet was the most expensive, the Coupe was in the middle. But now, this is the most valuable. Figure that one. And I'm going to move over here because I would like you to see the highlight of my music system, my bazooka tube. That provides the boomingest bass you could ever imagine in this little thing. I could compete with the best at any car show, audio car show with that thing. The combination of the two speakers here and that bazooka tube, and I have behind the floorboard, which fits perfectly. Behind that floorboard, you can't see it, I've got a Blaupunkt 180 watt amplifier. So I can cruise down this road and I can have the best music that is booming no matter how fast or no matter how loud it is. The music is just there. And it fits so perfectly up underneath it. All of these cars, when new, had a non-shift pattern knob on them. So maybe people didn't know. So they always stuck this from the factory the shift sign. And it's sort of a little, I don't know, a little factory thing that we like to do, even though this is a driver. How many times have I said that? But this is the factory duplicate shift pattern sign that you can buy and stick right there. So you know where first, second, third, and fourth is. I put a Carrera wood wheel on this car. I found it in a beat up Speedster years and years and years ago that had, the Speedster actually had a T5, meaning a 60 front end on it and a 58 rear end, and I just sold it to somebody for maybe $3,000. Now it'd be worth probably 200 grand. But I got the wheel, and the wheel was so valuable and so rare that I had it in a display case for years, and then in my old age I decided that I should really put it on a car. So I sent it to Bruce Crawford, who is the 356 Carrera wheel specialist, and had it refinished. He did a beautiful job, and now I have it on this car. That wheel, probably the way you see it, is, I don't know, worth $3,500 because it's that rare and so few had it. It was an expensive option, and back then nobody could really afford the options because this car, well, not necessarily this, but say a Cabriolet costs more than a 61 Cadillac, and who in their right mind here in America would buy a tiny little squashed Volkswagen convertible when they could buy a fully loaded Cadillac with air conditioning and power windows? Nobody. Well, there were some because they sold them. So the Roadster didn't have much storage. So these were the standard door pockets where you could put the owner's manual in the pouch right here. I wonder if the guy's got his owner's manual in here. And if he doesn't, that means he was afraid of it getting damp. And no, I've got it at home, of course. But that's where you usually kept the owner's manual or your driving glasses or driving gloves. Very, very simple. The Droughts sticker here that had both the serial number and the color number. This happens to be light ivory. This is the original sticker, believe it or not, in that good a shape. And then the 3 basic instruments. You could get an optional oil pressure gauge if you wanted, or even a clock, but they'd have to punch holes in the dash, and nobody liked that. The horn ring was an option. And with 12 volt, it's loud and big. This was an accessory plug, DIN accessory plug to run whatever you wanted to run off of there. The little wiper right here, which are meager, I mean, give me a break, wiper. And then the key and the headlights, and then the hand throttle, which aids in warm up. There's no choke on this, so you have to let it run at a higher idle for a while. This was added, a cigarette lighter at the dealer. Everybody needs a cigarette lighter. But of course, it's great for plugging in accessories now. You can see that obviously nobody's used a cigarette lighter. Who does these days? One visor only. You didn't get 2. You got 1 visor because that saved them a nickel in the sale price of the car. And then the highly chromed windshield frame. You can tell the difference between a Cabriolet and a Roadster right away by just looking at the windshield frame. The Cabriolet has it built into the body. The Roadster has it added on. They race these and like to take the windshield off because it was dragged. So they would just undo the 2 screws here and pull the whole assembly out, and then you'd be in the wind with your helmet on. And this tensions the windshield frame when you put the glass in. Putting a glass in one of these Roadsters is a Herculean task. Impossible. When I did some of these early on, I broke 4 windshields in a row, trying to get them tensioned right and to fit right. And I'd never want to do it again, ever, ever. I could tell somebody how to do it, but I wouldn't want to do it myself. So thank you for listening. In conclusion, I truly, from my heart, want to tell all of you that I love my Roadster, and I highly encourage you to experience a 356 once in your lifetime. They're pretty terrific cars, and once you drive one, you'll realize why they were so great and why people have such allegiance to them and love them. And I'll have this car for the rest of my life, which may not be that much longer because I am 72 as of this video, 2024. Thank you very much. George Hussey, Automobile Atlanta.